Hey guys, I just wanted to make a video about some of the thoughts I've been having about the idea of a soul. And I know the soul has been covered by lots of other atheists, lots of other people throughout history, and it's kind of an idea that's been overthought. And I'm not a theologist. Um, I've never studied theology. I'm somewhat familiar with the Christian theology, but regardless, I've just been thinking about the idea of a soul in light of um, the understanding that matter, matter and energy are what make up the universe. And what I mean by that is, I've been thinking about the idea of an individual soul, the thing in Christianity that is supposedly eternal. Like each person has one, and it goes, heaven or hell or purgatory, depending on what you believe when you die. And I was thinking about this in the context of the fact that I'm made of matter. And I once believed I had an eternal soul. But when I die, the atoms that were me, or me in any objective sense, become something else. So maybe 1,000 years down the line, I'll be spread across the earth, like as in a tree, maybe in some other country, or in a bird that's flying, or in the ground, spread among plants. Like um, the atoms that actually make up objectively who and what I am right now are ever changing. For example, I'm not even the same person that I was when I was born, and that's not some sort of like philosophical like who am I? It's like literally I'm not the same atoms as I used to be. And everything in my body is just a transition through matter. So everything I am is being replaced and replaced and replaced until I die, and then those things go into the earth and they replenish, and then the atoms and molecules that were in me become the components of some other organism, or rocks or fossils, or just go into the earth. And so my question is, to those of you who like the idea of a soul, or who sort of hold on to it, and this need not even be limited to Christianity, but my question is, what is the root of the soul? If the soul is immaterial, which it must be to be eternal, I think, how is it rooted to the physical reality? Because anything that is me, or that I would call myself, is not an objective identification of this unchanging thing that is me. Like the meanness of my matter is lost as I go through my life, or as I die. So it seems to me that the only way that the soul could actually exist, and each person would have this eternal soul, is if the soul was somehow subjectively um, tied to your brain state. Because after all, that is what makes you in any real sense, even though that itself is subjective as well, because you're just passing in and out of matter. Um, so if, for example, I had a soul when I was born, or when I was conceived, or whatever you think the soul is put into life, um, how could it have been attached to me, and yet I am no longer attached to the matter that I used to be living in, so to speak? Um, so unless there's some sort of framework that sort of like roughly identifies my brain state, or my genetics, or something that's related to some level of myself, that's not reliant on matter, or the replacement of matter and energy in my body, then I don't see how the soul can actually be attached to anything or anyone. Um, and I've never like talked to a priest about this. I've never talked to anyone who has any theological training about this. It was just something I was thinking about, because how can a soul, which is supposedly staying with you for eternity, um, the you that it's staying with for your time on Earth isn't even a thing. It's just a word to categorize um, a living thing, and a living thing is just matter, which like is in the process of flowing from place to place. It actually, Richard Dawkins put it well. He said matter flows from place to place and momentarily comes together to be you, which is really the fact of the matter. And so the idea of a soul, I think, is not compatible with an examination of how matter moves throughout the universe in the context of living things. And maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm vastly ignorant on the subject, I'll admit, but it's something that I thought of, and I thought it was interesting because people always talk about, like the mind or the heart being the root of the soul, of some sort of like eternal thing that transcends this life. But even this life is a subjective um, experience. Not that it's not real, but that the you that you would call yourself as you pass through this life is completely subjective and is constantly at all moments changing. So is it that all the matter that my body has been in is um, has a soul, like the dead skin cells that I left like in the other room I was just in? Like, does that still have my soul in it? Is it the fact that it was me at a time, or does that have to do with my brain? Um, and it seems to me that there can't actually be a link between the soul and and the physical reality, and even more so, that distance between the soul being connected to you, like you or I, as we would subjectively call ourselves, because that's just a subjective categorization of the matter and how it's acting at that moment. So please, if you have any comments, comment on it, because I thought this was really interesting, and I haven't actually talked to anyone, so I'd like some feedback, and I think it's pretty interesting. So there you go.